Hello, and welcome to the Techstrong AI podcast. I'm Amanda Razani, and I'm excited to be here today with Julien Sauvage. He is the General Vice President of Clari. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Amanda. Hi, and good morning, everybody.
Can you first share a little bit about Clari and the services provided by Clari, and then a little bit about your background?
Yeah, of course. So Clari, we're an industry-leading AI-powered revenue platform provider. So B2B SaaS, we help companies really optimize their end-to-end revenue process. Customers would include Okta, Zoom, Workday, Adobe, and others. And my background has always been kind of like at that intersection of AI and revenue. I am French, as I'm sure a lot of you can imagine. And I actually majored in math, and I was doing AI in France before AI was a big deal. And then I came to the States about 10 years ago and worked with companies like Salesforce, Gong, and Clari, which are very much in that revenue space. So I've always been really fascinated by the intersection of AI and revenue.
Wonderful. And as we've seen, AI has just exploded over the past couple of years.
Correct. Yeah. Past, 18 months or something, right? It sounds crazy, but it's still pretty new in a way.
Yes, it is. Well, that brings us to our topic today. So y'all published a recent survey, and it shows that companies are leaving a shocking amount of revenue on the table because they're not making the most of AI technology.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the pieces of the report says revenue leaders report losing out on 26% in global revenue. So my question for you is, how and why is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that phenomenon we call revenue leak. And the definition for that thing, revenue leak, is breaks in your revenue process. As I said, Clari has always very much been of the companies who believe that revenue is not just an outcome at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the month. It's really a process that has to be governed end to end, from data to results. And so with that in mind, what we have seen is that in that process, there's breakdowns, right? Certain times, the RevOps leaders are not able to capture the right data to give the visibility and the governance to the leaders. Sometimes your frontline manager, your account executives are not able to act on that data. So there's a lot of potential sources of revenue leak. And so the report pretty much discusses the examples of said revenue leak and tries to quantify the impact and give solutions for leaders to implement in their organizations.
Okay, so maybe you can go into that in more detail. So data seems to be at the root of a lot of it. And I know 67% of these companies losing out on the global revenue currently are planning to use AI to improve their revenue this year. So how and where do they start this endeavor? And maybe you can start with these use case examples and the solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's start with the use cases maybe, and then we can talk about the actual kind of solutions. Of course, it's going to be a multi-year journey, right? 26% of revenue lost to revenue leak. That's such a massive stat. So it's not with the blink of an eye, you can just go and capture 20 of the 26%. You embark on a big strategic AI journey and revenue platform journey. So examples of revenue leak, to start there, really span across the funnel and across the personas. So the way we think about funnel at Clari for the revenue teams is 3 phases: create pipeline, convert pipeline, so move deals forward faster, and then close the pipeline. We talk about create, convert, and close all the time. Create, convert, close. And so then alongside those 3 dimensions, what we did is we surveyed our respondents. I think it's over 450 companies, right? And we asked them, we had a list of 10 revenue leak examples for create, 10 for convert, 10 for pipeline close. And we asked them to just stack rank them. And if you take a look at the report, I'm going to take a look at my screen here because I think I have all of that data. Yeah, right here. Top examples for pipeline create of revenue leak would be poor and slow upsell across and cross-sell pipeline tracking, or missing or broken marketing to sales lead handoff, ineffective pipe generation programs. Those are examples of revenue leaks that concern the pipe create. And then pipe conversion would be very much around unsure where the pipeline is dropping off, inability to diagnose a deal progression, which is very much linked to the lack of data. And when it comes to closing pipeline, some of the top examples of reported revenue leak would be slipped deals. So it's typically one of those where you think your deal is going to close next week, and then out of the blue, out of the sudden, they just slip to the next quarter, and then it just keeps going. So those are examples of revenue leak across pipe, create, convert, and close. Me pause here because that was a long answer. I know I still got to answer what do you do with it? But does that make sense? Amanda, do these examples make sense to you?
Yes. Thanks for sharing those examples, and feel free to move on to now. What are the solutions?
Yeah. So the solutions are very much kind of like, like not every company has the same sources of leaks, right? Like certain companies are more mature on the process sides of things. Others are better at AI. Others are better at data. There's maybe just a stronger salesmanship in others. So we recognize that if you were to ask 10 companies, what are the top sources of revenue leak, you probably would get 10 very different answers. But also the first answer you would get would probably be, I don't know. Like people don't really know, right? Because it's part of it's in the process. So sometimes people know where the process breaks down, but sometimes they just don't know. So we always say our POV here at Clari is always diagnose. Diagnose your areas of revenue leak. You can do that with, our products, and there's also other products out there. But the first thing is run a really tight assessment of your revenue process so that in your funnel and for all the people and the roles on your revenue team, where are the sources of revenue leak? So that's step one, identify and diagnose and assess. Then step two is really the solution is implement what we call a revenue cadence. So a revenue cadence is, in a way, what we like to call the operating system of the revenue team, right? So it's a very prescriptive, highly detailed, step-by-step playbook in which you're able to nail the big revenue workflows that matter across all these revenue moments. So I'll give you examples. One of them would be a team performance cadence. So we defined all the workflows and all the touch points and all the meetings that need to happen so that the team performance is always enhanced based on, all of that data and based on the identification of leaks. That's one example of a cadence. There's 7 cadences in our playbook, but we believe that the solution to stopping the leaks is to implement a fully governed revenue cadence strategy that really will drive execution up and down the org.
Wonderful. So what are some of the roadblocks that these companies encounter as they begin to implement these solutions and trying to harness the full potential of AI?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's so many of them, as we know. As I said at the beginning, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So it's not that easy. I would say the first roadblock is the legacy systems that are getting in the way. I think, and I've seen that firsthand at pretty much any company I've been with, there's still no process in place, right? People to kind of try to know what deals are slipping and what's happening and gain visibility into their current quarter pipeline or the next quarter pipeline. They start cobbling together data sources from Excel and CRM, and then they realize that they also need another source of data. So they would put that together, and then they're like, oh, I can't visualize that in Excel because it's too big. And then they go to their BI tool, so it just becomes a very non-governed process to kind of try to, sift through all of those data sources across all those disparate systems. So the first obstacle is the legacy way of doing things. That combination of CRM, Excel, and BI, it's just not enough. So that's one of the things that we believe. We believe that people need a unified, purpose-built platform to run revenue. That's the first obstacle. So move past the previous generation tools. The second, I would say, obstacles is very much around data. No surprise there. It's all garbage in, garbage out, right? So not good data means not good AI and not good outcomes of AI. So I think we always advise our customers to fully think through their revenue data strategy, go beyond CRM data, think about the snapshotting of CRM, keeping track of everything that happened up to this day. It's not just about your accounts and contacts and opportunities today. It's also about the evolution of those over time. Think about what's happening on your sales calls. You need conversation intelligence to do that. Think about all the activities that are happening outside, all the emails and the meeting invites sent and received. So start with the strong revenue data strategy. Would be, or the lack of would be the second obstacle. And the third obstacle would be, I think, AI, which comes really to one of the things I'd love for us to discuss. People still don't understand. People don't know. They don't know what type of AI. AI has been around forever, and also it's very new. So it's very confusing, and people are like, wait, but I can summarize things with generative AI? I thought generative was going to generate content, not summarize it. So I think there's just a lot of education that has to happen around the purpose and the goal and the potential of AI. So those would be my three obstacles: legacy systems, revenue data, and purpose-built AI.
Oh, and absolutely with the AI, there are so many AI tools out there for so many different things. So just wrapping our brains around all the different AI tools and how we can use them and which tools are actually needed and which aren't.
Absolutely. Honestly, side note, even as a marketer, I still struggle. It's a different space than revenue, right? It's not in sales or in the revenue team, but I still struggle finding the right AI tool for the right marketing application myself. So I just explained, I'm a math guy and I did AI in France before when AI wasn't as hot. So if I still struggle, a lot of people still struggle for sure.
Yes, and I know there's some fear there. So part of it is just getting over the fear of just jumping in and trying out some AI tools. It's not going to hurt you to just try some out.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I think you just have to, it's a bit of a leap of faith, but you just have to go out and try them. What I always say is the more you use AI in your consumer life, the more at ease you will become with AI for the enterprise, with your enterprise use case. So I always even push my own team to use AI as much as they can in their day-to-day life and also at work. I would say the other thing that I think brings trust to all of us using AI is being able to see and measure the outcome. And that's something that that's the one thing that people don't do well, right? They're like, oh yeah, I have this leak issue. I'm going to go ahead and try some AI. But there's no success criteria. And so they try a bunch of stuff. There's no expected outcomes really mapped out and planned ahead. And then fast forward, I don't know, a week or 6 months, they have some outcome of AI. They just don't know if they're good or not. And that's when the trust, I think, starts to fall out. So always, I know it sounds very basic, but like any program, any project, if you don't have the end in mind, the end first, then there's no use even kicking off an AI project.
Yeah, not just implementing AI for AI's sake, but having a clear end goal and then tracking that return on investment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also a good point. Like any good program and project, you need a cadence, you need tracking mechanism, you need leading indicators to your ultimate success metric that you're targeting at the end. Also, there's never really an end, right? We all know it's kind of a flywheel thing. If your AI first project is successful, well, guess what? That's going to generate value. And then of that value, people will probably have more activities and they will close more revenue, in our case, and that will generate more data. And then guess what? That data can be analyzed by AI again. And so you're in that virtuous circle of from AI to, from data to AI to outcomes to more data. And then you're good. So
exactly. Yeah. And of course, AI is rapidly evolving and advancing. So what are your tips for business leaders as far as staying ahead of how rapidly it's advancing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I love, it depends how people consume content, right? But like the type of report, I know it sounds a little like self-promoting, but the type of content that we put together is a good start if you're in a revenue team. But just in general, my tip would be curious, read as many kind of like, not theoretical, but more like applicable reports as possible. Talk to your peers. I know we love running an advisory board at Clari. We also have an AI council that we invite our prospects and customers to. So try to just like, network and see what others are doing. And then, as we said, give it a shot. Pick that one use case. Don't boil the ocean. Pick that one use case. Have a clear success criteria in mind, a clear plan, and then you just go take that leap of faith. And if it doesn't work, then at least you will have tried. And if it worked, then it's going to be great. So read and educate, network, and give it a shot. Those would be my 3 tips.
Wonderful. Well, we're almost to the end of our segment. So if you could share one key takeaway for our audience today, what would that be?
One key takeaway. Oh man, that's a hard question because I don't know. It feels like this was a rich discussion and we peppered in some stats and whatnot. I would say the one takeaway is think of revenue as a process. Think about assessing where your revenue process is breaking down, and then start educating yourself around how AI can help you with those breakdowns in your process.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on our show and sharing your insights with us today. And I want to thank our audience and stay tuned. There's more.